Is it visible to everyone?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Biodiversity and conservation.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
A very good morning to everyone. Uh,
Good
Good
morning,
morning,
sir.
sir.
I'm
Morning,
Good
sir.
morning, sir. Morning.
Good morning, sir.
myself, Khursheed Ahmad. I'm a professor in University of Kashmir University of Agriculture Sciences and Technology. It's a pleasure meeting you all and interacting with you today in this session, biodiversity and conservation.
Good morning,
I hope
sir.
most. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
We can
Yes,
hear
sir.
you.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So this is a very important and a very general topic. Most of you might already be knowing about little bit about the biodiversity and conservation, but there are lot of the issues that are concerning these biodiversity and conservation, and I will try to sum up everything for the general understanding of all of you. Uh, so, as we all know, biodiversity is the literal meaning of biodiversity. And before we start with the biodiversity, we need to understand that it is the Earth is the only planet on the entire ecosystem, this uh, solar system, that sustains the life. And there are very definitions of biodiversity. Why the earth sustains life. This is all because of the favorable environment that uh, earth provides for the life and the life support system. And now, what kind of life is sustained by the globe, this planet, uh, is the biodiversity, the life forms, different life forms that we see all around is the biodiversity. So the literal meaning of the biodiversity, if we say, is bio means life, diversity means variety. So it is the variety of life. It's in the simplest terms, we say it is the variety of life, variety of life forms. Now, there have been a lot of discussions, deliberations that have happened to define the biodiversity. And the most important one is the summit that took place in Brazil in 1992, that is uh, called by the name of Rio Summit. That is the summit of sustainable utilization of resources. And there, the biodiversity was defined uh, categorically that it is the life forms on Earth, but those life forms that would include the diversity within the ecosystem. What are the different life forms that are existing in a particular uh, area, in across the different areas, and within a species. So if, say, for instance, we say that humans are one of the species, uh, and we have different varieties in humans, but humans per se is a species. Then we have different races in humans. That is the different kind of diversity. That is not the diversity related to the variety or variations in the species as say. And then we have different forms of uh, variety of life between the species. So we have the humans, we have the livestock, and we have uh, plants, the other associated animals, the micro animal, microfauna, microflora, and the larger trees, the larger animals. So all these are the diversity between the species, and then there's a diversity of the ecosystems. So we have different kind of ecosystems. We have the uh, the tropical ecosystem, then we have the temperate ecosystem, then we have the sea is as one of the ecosystems, then we have the deserts, one of the ecosystems. So these are the diverse forms of ecosystems that we have. So this is the diversity within species, between species, and between the ecosystems. Then we call it alpha diversity, beta diversity, gamma diversity. There's a different kind of diversity that we designate in this species when we talk about the diversity within a particular habitat. Say, for instance, diversity within the subtropical habitat. Then we have the diversity between the habitats. One is subtropical habitat, one is tropical habitat. Then we have the diversity of the ecosystems. So there are different these definitions to it. And then there is a definition by the IUCN that has been given in 1998, is the variety of species and life forms and associations, their interaction, the interaction of the species with the associated species, the process of interaction between the species, how it varies between the species, how it varies uh, from one species to the other species, how one species interacts differently with the other species. But that is a uh, this advanced kind of definitions to diversity, and that is for the biologists to understand, particularly who will be working on this diversity. And then we have the diversity or variety of organisms, including their genetic diversity. So if we talk about, say, for instance, some vegetables, some fruits, we see different kind of varieties of different fruits we have. So we have the uh, diversity of the in the fruits or the vegetables. Then we have different races of those vegetables or the fruits. So that is a kind of different genetic diversity that we have. So based on all this, so we divide the biodiversity largely into three main diversities. So we have the ecological diversity. So ecological diversity is the diversity between the ecosystems or the landscapes or the habitats. So we have different biomes. We have the bioregions. So we have desert is one of the bioregion. Then we have the Himalayas, one of the other bioregions. Then we have uh, islands is a bioregion. So we have the diversity in these ecological these regions. We have the diversity in the niches. We have within the particular biogeographic region, we have different habitats. We have grasslands, then woodlands, then riverines, then we have pastures. So these are different habitats. So there is a diversity within a particular ecosystem. Then we have within the habitat there are the niches. Niche is a area which is actually utilized by a particular species for its functional as a functional role. So a species which uh, does all its functional life cycles in a particular area within a habitat is the niche. So the habitat which has a functional role in a particular habitat is the niche. Then we have populations. Within a habitat, we have different kind of populations. We have populations of livestock, we have populations of, say, we have the cattle, we have the poultry, we have sheep, goat. So these are different populations. So this is diversity within a habitat. Then we have the genetic diversity. Populations, different populations. Then individuals. There's a variation in the individuals of different populations. So then we have the variation in the chromosomes. Different individuals or different populations have different chromosomal variations. We have the variations in genes, genetic level variations. We have variations, we have genes are same, but there are the variations in the nucleotides of the genes. So those are the very basics of these diversity that one needs to understand when you try to study biodiversity in totality. Then we have the organismal diversity, which means that we have different fauna, we have different flora, they are divided into different organismal. Then you have the kingdoms, then phylas, the families, genera, the variation in the species, the subspecies, populations, individuals. So these are the variations that you find in different at the organismal level. So then we see the basics of all this diversity is the diversity in the species. So all this, when we talk about this organismal diversity, so species is the basic building block of all the diversity we see. So what is a species is the group of individuals. Say we talk about the a particular animal. Say for instance we talk about the sheep. So the species, sheep is a species because the individuals of this particular organism, they appear same, they have same ancestry, common ancestry, and they interbreed between themselves and produce fertile offsprings of their own kind. The sheep will produce sheep. So that is the species. So they will resemble, they have the common ancestry, resemble each other genetically and physically, and they interbreed. That's very important. Those individuals which interbreed and produce fertile offsprings of their own kind, that is the species. Sometimes we see the crossbreeding happens between the species. Then we get a different kind of the metapopulation, the subspecies level variations, the genetic variations we'll find. So that is not a species. Species is the group of individuals which have a common ancestry, which resemble each other physically and genetically, and which interbreed to produce fertile offsprings of their own kind. And that is the basic definition of the species, and the species is the basic unit of the biodiversity. So different variety of species, when we have that forms the biodiversity, because life, the basic unit of the life is species, and the different variation in different species in an area is the diversity, biodiversity. Diversity of the species is the biodiversity. And based on all this biodiversity, the India is biogeographically, as we said, that we have the uh, ecological diversity. In terms of ecological diversity, then we have divided India into 10 ecological or
Sir,
biogeographical
sir,
zones.
sorry to disturb you.
Yes,
Sir, are you going with your PPT slides or
सर
you are
पीपीटी
going?
आपकी मूव हो रही है या आई थिंक सर स्टेबल है क्या
it's not moving. Which slide you are looking at right
It is
Sir,
now?
we are on
on
Shere
the
Kashmir.
slide
Shere
visible on the
Kashmir.
screen. Biodiversity and conservation, the title slide.
Oh,
You
it's
can
not
see
moving.
Shere
no, sir.
Kashmir University of Agricultural Science and Technology of Kashmir.
I have explained so many slides so far.
No, sir. No. We are on Shere
Actually, sir,
Kashmir.
we listen. Yes, sir. We listen it carefully. That's not issue, but we think
To see others.
Yes,
we
sir.
should
Lecture is
inform
very
you.
informative, sir. Please carry on.
Are you going to see the change in the slide?
No, sir.
Not
No, sir. Not yet.
It's not moving.
not
Not moving.
Not
Yes,
at all.
sir, if possible,
Sir,
then change the slides, please, sir. It
I'm
would
changing.
be
I'm changing.
better. Yes, sir.
sir, sir, you can share your whole screen so that we can see your presentation.
No, this whole screen is
Kindly do it
open.
again, sir. Kindly do it again, sir.
I think
I'll
some
just stop
digits are
sharing
missing.
and share it again. Just a minute.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir,
Thank you.
please, sir.
Problem.
Sir, now your laptop screen is visible.
Okay. I'm just sharing it. It's not.
Yes, sir.
It's taking some time.
Sure, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay, it's okay, sir.
Is it visible now?
Yes, sir. Now it's visible, sir.
Which slide you are getting?
The first slide, the title slide.
Shere Kashmir.
Is it
Yes, sir. Now
moving?
it's moving. Now your slide is moving, sir. Very clear, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So I explained up to here. I think you have been able to
So
understand.
you are
this.
discussing 10 biogeographical zones. 10 biogeographical zones of India.
Which slide you are is now visible?
Species
Species diversity. Species
Okay.
is one of the basic units of diversity.
Okay.
Biogeographical zones in India.
Yeah, this is the
Yes, these are here.
we are just discussing the biogeographical zones of India. So based on the ecological diversity, we have the divided India into 10 biogeographical zones. As I just mentioned about what are the different variations in the at the ecological level, the biogeographical level. So as per that, we have divided it into 10 biogeographical zones. And if you can see look at the picture of India and the different zonations, you can yourself visualize how different these zones are. So you have, say, the Ladakh and some parts of the northern Kashmir. So they are different from the uh, the parts of Himachal Pradesh and the Jammu and Kashmir, some parts of the Jammu and Kashmir. So you have this area is the uh, Himalayas, but trans Himalayas. Trans Himalayas means beyond Himalayas. So this is the area beyond Himalayas, and this, if you see this one from left to right up to the Arunachal Pradesh, this entire area is the Himalayas. So you have this trans Himalayas, which include the largely the Ladakh, and then we have the Himalayas, which include parts of Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal, Uttarakhand, then the upper parts of UP, and then Nepal, Bhutan, Arunachal Pradesh, Assam. So this is all the Himalayas. And then we have the Gangetic Plain. You can see just this is the Gangetic Plain. It's completely different. All along the river Ganges, the area that is the Gangetic Plain. Then we have on the left the subtropical or semi-desert. We call it semi-desert area, and the desert here. Then this is the Western Ghats. This is the Deccan Plateau. These are the eastern India, eastern coast. These are the islands. This is northeast, and you can just imagine yourself that how different these landscapes are from the biological diversity point of view and from the ecological diversity point of view. So we have the diversity in terms of the ecosystems these different biogeographical regions have. So you have the cold desert, the uh, uh, the Himalayas, Trans Himalayas, the cold desert region of India, and then you have the desert. This is the desert region. Now the cold desert and desert, two ecologically diverse, two ecosystem wise diverse regions we have, and then the kind of biodiversity these two regions will have will definitely be different from other regions. Now the cold desert will have a set of species that are adapted to the cold desert conditions, and the desert will have the set of species, the biota that will be adaptive to the hot arid ecosystem. And similarly you have different other ecosystems, and those ecosystems or those biogeographical regions will have different biogeographic uh, these different biodiversity. So uh, we have the organismal diversity, which include the mammals, birds, reptiles, amphibians, fish, butterflies, plants. So the mega diversity that we talk about is the diversity of different these forms of these life forms. The mammals, the diversity of mammals. Among the mammals, we have 423 different mammals in India. We have more than 1300 species of birds in India. So the diversity, the kind of diversity we have in all these diverse organismal level, or within the organismal level, say mammals, One is mammal is one of the this the diversity within one of the organismal levels. The mammals is, we have different 423 mammals. The diversity of mammals we have. Then we have diversity of birds. More than 1,300 species of birds we have. More than 500 species of reptiles. More than 300 species of amphibians. More than uh, 3,000 species of fish and butterflies, and then plants. We have the diversity of species, variety of species in all these different organismal levels, and that gives the uh, signifies the importance of India from the biodiversity point of view, from the biogeographical diversity point of view, and that's why there are uh, different biogeographical regions or hotspots which have been defined globally, and out of these we India is having 2 out of 36 hotspots. So those 2 hotspots are the Himalayas and the Western Ghats. So of all these biogeographical regions, this Western Himalayas and the Himalayas, these are considered as the hotspots, global hotspots of biodiversity. Why global hotspots? What are the global hotspots of biodiversity? Are those areas or those ecosystems or the biogeographical regions of the world which are very significant in terms of the kind of diversity they have. Like I have shown in this slide, that out of the diversity of mammals we have in India, so Himalayas, out of 423 mammals, Himalayas have 300 mammals. Similarly, out of 1,300 bird species, 977 species are in Himalayas only. So that is the kind of diversity that these regions have. They are uh, considered as a hotspot, global hotspots from the biodiversity point of view. So they have the huge diversity, and that huge diversity, it's not only the number of species they have, they this diversity is very significant in terms of the number of threatened species these areas have. That's why they are called hotspots. Hotspots means these areas have the diversity of the species which are threatened globally, which are at the verge of extinction. So these regions, excuse me, can you stop talking?
Mute yourself, please. Can you please mute yourself?
Hello?
Dr. M. Aziz, mute yourself. Dr. M. Aziz.
डॉक्टर साहब कृपया ध्यान दीजिए प्लीज
अरे मोहम्मद अजीज जी
So are you able to see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So which
Sir,
slide
one
it
thing.
is?
Sir, one thing I want to say. Hello. Khursheed sir, can you hear me?
Yes.
Please mute yourself.
पूछिए अमित सर पूछिए
सर आपने जो डेटा दिया है वो स्क्रीन का है. I was just checking and I found that data is not up to date. Your data is not up to date.
Which data?
Your data, who is talking in background? The data is not up to date. Your data, according to Zoological Survey of India.
उसमें क्या दिखा रहा है? Zoological Survey में भी है?
The mammals are
एक
400,
मिनट अजीज जी का
410.
पहले फोन
हाँ?
अजीज जी का बहुत
Can you stop? Can you stop talking? There's a lot of noise going on. If you want to talk about among yourselves, then I can stop.
मोहम्मद अजीज जी कृपया सर वी आर नॉट टॉकिंग सर मोहम्मद अजीज सर अनम्यूटेड हिमसेल्फ
নাই নাই নহয় মই কৈছো এইটো
মেইনটো স্যার আইডি কার্ড খন কল যোৱা কাৰ্ড খন এই নম্বৰতে এইটো একাউণ্টটো কিন্তু লগৰ বছৰৰ কাৰণে আমাৰ দুখন থাকো
মানে জইন একাউণ্টত কোনটো নাহিছে তেনেকুৱা যদি হলাক হয় বিদ্যুৎ জ্যোতি ভট্টাচাৰ্যে 3 কোটি টকা বিএস কলেজৰ একাউণ্টত তাৰে পান কাৰ্ড
I think I need to stop because there is a lot of noise. You will not be able to listen.
মৰি যাব দেখোন প্ৰিন্সিপালৰ পান কাৰ্ড আৰু বিদ্যুৎ
Sir, kindly talk to AMU HRTC. They will mute them.
मोहम्मद अजीज अजीज जी
কামটো কৰি হ'ব
अभी क्या
हाँ, मजा जी यहाँ पे बहुत सारी नॉइज चल रही है उनको हाँ वो बहुत सारे चल रहे हैं उन्हें
মই চালানটো লৈ আছো মোক দেখাই দিব অলপ PDF কৰি দিছে মই প্ৰিন্ট কৰি দিছো
Dr. Aziz, mute yourself. Okay.
So we are the biodiversity hotspots that we are talking about. These are the areas which are very significant in terms of the biodiversity they have, and in terms of the diversity of the threatened species these areas inhabit. So these threatened species are very significant. We have already lost most of these species in this universe. So more than 70% of the habitats have so far been lost globally. So in terms of that, in recognition to the significance of these the biogeographical regions which inhabit the threatened species, the globally there are 36 hotspots that have been identified and which are being given due consideration for conservation because these areas are very significant in terms of the diversity and in terms of the threatened species that they inhabit. So of these 36 hotspots, we have 2 hotspots, that is the Himalayas and the Western Ghats. And you can see a diversity of...
Sir, I think we have 4 biodiversity hotspots in India.
We don't have 4. It is globally...
Indo-Burma and Sundaland also found in India.
Indo-Burma is not in India, that is Burma. That is the Indo-Burman that is the biogeographical zone, global biogeographical zone. I'm talking about the 2 hotspots in India. These are the Himalayas and the Western Ghats. Okay, Indo-Burma is Burma.
These are few part of India also there in
Indo-Burma. But largely that is Burma.
And Sundaland also in Andaman Nicobar.
But they are not part of the India, though the diversity the diversity, the biogeographical region. India has 10 biogeographical regions, and there is no this Burmese region recognized in India. So when we don't have this region recognized in India, how can we say that that belongs to India?
Correct, sir.
So it is from the ecological point of view, that is a different region. That is, India is part of the Oriental biogeographical region of the world. Oriental biogeographical region में Indo-Burmese is one of the sub-regions. ठीक है? Indo-China is one of the sub-regions. Our India has the borders with China. So we have Indo-Chinese region also. But we cannot claim that because that is largely China. So we have the diversity which comes to India from Burma. We have the diversity which comes to India from even the Central Asia, from the northwestern Himalayas. So that is a different story. We have 10 biogeographical regions that I have just shown. You cannot see any Indo-Burmese or Indo-Chinese region in that. Burma is somewhere here.
No, sir. It is a northeast. Some part comes in Indo-Burma.
It is not there. I'm saying it is Himalayas. Himalayas is the only area, only biogeographical region, which is one of the hotspots, global hotspots. And then we have the Western Ghats.
Okay,
Don't
sir.
go by the Google.
No, sir. We are not discussing Google. I was the part of Zoological Survey of India.
Zoological Survey of India is also showing, most of the times they are showing the different data.
Yes, sir.
You just refer to the Zoological Survey of India. If they are these biogeographical regions of India have been, they are well established. When they are well established, there is no Indo-Burmese or this region there. So this is India. Burma is down there. How can we include that area with our? You can include, Zoological Survey of India can include, but globally it cannot be included. Global level पे देखना है ना हमने. We are talking about the hotspots. These are the global hotspots. अब ये जो आप जिसकी बात कर रहे हैं, बर्मा यहाँ पे है ना. So Burma is a region, hotspot है, but वो इंडिया में नहीं आ रहा है. We have this Himalayas. Himalayas is included. Burma is in Burma. We cannot include it in our landscape. Because most of the diversity that we are talking about, the threatened species, they are in Burmese region. And we get a lot of diversity from Burma in India. We have the takin. Takin comes from Burma. ये तो एनिमल्स की बात हम करेंगे ना, उनका तो बड़ा वो होता है, दी होम रेंज बहुत बड़ा होता है, तो उसमें वो कभी यहाँ आ जाएंगे फिर वापस जाएंगे. बट लार्ज जो होता है ना, जो उनका जो लार्जर होम रेंज होता है, वो जिस रीजन में होता है उसको माना जाता है.
Okay, sir.
Now we have these diverse landscapes in India. That's अभी हम जो बात कर रहे थे, एक diversity आती है, landscape level diversity or habitat level diversity or ecosystem level diversity. So we have very important regions in India which are very diverse, which are very rich from the biodiversity point of view and from the ecological and biogeographical or landscape diversity which have. So one of them is the Corbett landscape. So you have the Corbett landscape. It's a very vast landscape. It is a diverse landscape. A lot of niches are there. A lot of biomes are incorporated in this landscape. So there's a diversity in the biome. There's a diversity in the niche. There's a diversity of the habitats in this landscape. It's a very important landscape, and diversity of the species. We have huge number of species in this landscape, and this is again part of the Himalayan ecosystem. So the lower Himalayas, the part of the lower Himalayas and the Indo-Gangetic plain. So we have Indo-Gangetic and the lower Himalayas. These are the two biogeographical regions in Corbett landscape. We are just talking about the Himalayas. One of the important areas of Himalayas is the Kashmir Himalayas, and we have the species like critically endangered hangul, which is found nowhere else globally, but in the confined areas in Kashmir. So this is a species globally significant because it is a threatened species at the verge of extinction, and it is only restricted to confined areas in Kashmir only, nowhere else globally. So that's why it's very important area, hotspot, global hotspot. So we have areas like Kaziranga National Park, Kaziranga landscape. Again, diversity of niches, diversity of habitats, diversity of ecosystems, and diversity of species in the Kaziranga landscape. We have the rhinos, elephants, buffaloes, swamp deer, tiger, spotted deer, everything is there. So diversity of the species. We have some very critical habitats in India, which are very important for a particular species like black buck. Earlier, you might be seeing black buck everywhere in UP. Now you don't find black bear anywhere. Very few areas are left where we have the black buck, and the population is just confined to those areas. Those are again very important critical habitats which need to be preserved, and they have to be given due consideration. So we have the areas, the landscapes or the ecosystems like the meadow ecosystems of the uh, cheetal in found in large uh, numbers, and so you have this landscape which is again diverse in terms of the habitats, in terms of the niche. You can see this is a niche of the cheetal, and this there are different variety of these kind of niches for different species, or there are niches which are important for the diversity of species, many species co-occurring in a particular area. So these are kind of habitats that are very significant in terms of the biodiversity. So we have a diversity of the birds in India. We have more than 1,300 species of birds, and these birds belonging to diverse families. So 75 families. The 1,300 species belong to 75 families. So we have diversity at the families level. We have diversity at the species level. So we have the as we just were discussing about the Indo-Chinese region, Ethiopian region, Palearctic region, we have lost most of the diversity which is related to the Palearctic region. But we cannot claim Palearctic region to be part of the Indian region. So we have some diversity which is related to Palearctic region, which comes from there. Like I was talking about Hangul. Hangul is a Palearctic species. Indo-Chinese, we have the 62% of the birds that are there in India are related to Indo-Chinese. They have the Indo-Chinese origin. But since they are inhabiting the northeastern and the Himalayan parts, so they are very significant in terms of the biodiversity, but they have the origin in China. So we have the area, the species which are related to the Ethiopian region. We have the species which have the origin from the African region. So there are these species which have a different affinity with this original, and they are related to different biogeographical regions globally, but they are part of the Indian uh, mainland, and that is the diversity that we have. Now, all this diversity, despite having all this diversity, there are a lot of pressures on this diversity also. So we have, as I already said, we have already lost more than 70% of the habitats for the species have already been lost, and we have a lot of developmental uh, because India as per se is a developing country. It's not a developed country. We are developing, and we have to develop, and that is where we have to develop sustainably. We have to take developmental activities in a sustainable manner, and we have not been doing that. We have not been following that sustainable way of development, and we have in the process tried to uh, lose a lot of habitats. There's global warming going on, climate change, environmental degradation has happened, and all this is actually causing a huge impact on the biodiversity that we have. We are boasting of the biodiversity we have. We are now just claiming other regions to be part of India, but we are not able to sustain our own areas, which are very important, more important. We have to concentrate on those areas, and we are not doing that. We are, if you see, lot of this development is happening in these areas that we are talking about, the hotspot areas, and those habitats are uh, getting lost day by day, and we are losing the species, and we have already lost uh, more than 50% forest cover is gone. More than 70% of the water bodies are polluted. More than 40, hello, more than 40% of the mangroves have
Sir,
been
carry on.
destroyed. So this all is threatening the biodiversity that we discussed about that the India is boasting about. So all this is uh, these are the major challenges that we have in the conservation of this biodiversity. So we have already lost globally. We have already lost more than 30% species globally are threatened with extinction. And earlier those extinctions were natural. Now the extinctions are the result of these the impacts that we do on the habitats, the landscapes, the biodiversity, biogeographical regions, the niches. So we uh, impact those areas, and the result is the loss of the diversity. So the extinctions are growing at a larger pace. Earlier, these extinctions were very slow but natural. Now we have 500 times higher rates of extinction than it used to have earlier. So with this result, we are day by day seeing that there's a listing of species under threat categories is continuing. So we have to conserve species. When we conserve the species, the listing of species under threat categories has to be decreased. But we are now uh, uh, adding species in threat category every day. So more and more species are getting threatened with extinction, getting listed under threat categories. So that is the reason is the unsustainable developmental activities that have been taking place, which have resulted in the loss of the habitats, the regions, biogeographical regions, and the species. So we have already lost some of the species, like we talk about the cheetah. It has been extirpated from India, so we don't have. It is extinct long back in 1800. It has been extinct from India. So we are now in a process of bringing back cheetah, but at the same time we are trying to in a process of getting many more species getting extinct. So this is again a complex situation. So we are trying to introduce the species which we have not been able to sustain earlier, and but at the same time we are not in a position to sustain the species which are important for this region, and which we are losing because of the developmental activities that are going on. So these are some of the main causes of biodiversity loss, and you all know about all this. And now, how
May I add to this?
the species,
I am from
now the
Bihar.
conservation.
I am from Bihar, and the state bird is sparrow, and there is no mention of sparrow in your slide. It is almost on the verge of sparrows. गौरैया जो है खत्म हो रही है.
नहीं नहीं, स्पैरोज खत्म हो रहे हैं, बट उस दैट इज नॉट ए कंसर्न एज येट. अभी उस दार पे पहुंचा नहीं है वो. Now I'm talking about the species. I'm talking about the species which are at the verge of extinction or which are threatened. Sparrow is not threatened globally. It is decreasing. The numbers are declining in India. But when we talk about the threat categories, that the listing of species into threat categories is based on the surveys, the populations we have globally. So for sparrow, we have the populations in India, they are declining, but we have a reasonable amount of populations in other parts of the world. That's why it is not listed as yet as under threat category. But it is of course declining in India. We need to take cognitive of this significance of the decline in the sparrow population. There are, if we talk about sparrow, that there are lot many other species which are more important than sparrow, which have almost are declining to a very fast rate. So now conservation is protecting together. So conservation is guarding together. These are the conservation has come from two words, the Greek words. The kan means together, so means guard. To guard together is conservation. It's very simple. So how can we guard together? We have to make efficient use of resources. Then only we are able to conserve the species. It is not only the government, it is we people, we have to try to protect our species. Like as someone was just mentioning about sparrow, it is not only the developmental activities that have resulted in the decline in the sparrow population. It is the people, the activities of the people that have that are responsible for the decline in the sparrow populations. So we have to make the efficient use of resources. So sustainable use of resources is what was the paramount of the Rio summit back in 1992. The sustainable utilization has come out from that Rio summit. So we have to utilize the resources sustainably. We are not against the development, but we have to see that where the development is needed, if a development is needed in an area which is very critical habitat for a particular species, we have to try to convince the policymakers that they need to take measures so that this critical habitat is saved and the development is done in a alternate area. So that is a kind of this the conservation activities that need to be undertaken to safeguard the species. So as I just said, the Rio summit has actually this sustainable utilization has come from that summit, and we have to do the this development sustainably so that we are able to protect the species. So we have at the same time seen a large increase in some of the species. Tiger, in some areas, there's an increase in the species, these populations of elephants. So that is a result of the conservation, the effective utilization or effective use of the resources. We have tried to protect the landscapes, biogeographical regions, ecosystems that have resulted in the increase in the populations in some of the areas, and there are now areas which have the population which have become now a cause of conflict between the humans and the wildlife. So there's these are the actually the success stories of conservation. So we have acted upon the the we have tried to protect the species, protect the landscapes, and when we protected the landscapes, we have been able to increase the population of species in those landscapes, critical landscapes, and these are the success conservation stories. So we have the conservation is in situ and ex situ. Conservation of species in their natural habitats is the conservation. When we conserve the species in natural landscape, like this is a kind of conservation that is in the natural landscape. So that is the in situ conservation. Then we have, when we are talking about the in situ conservation, so it is done by designating an area. Actually, this designation of area is again dependent on the kind of species, the diversity that we have to look at, and the kind of diversity which is very important, threatened diversity. We have to look at it and designate the areas as per the kind of diversity they have and the threatened diversity those areas inhabit. So we designate areas, international parks, sanctuaries, biosphere reserves, and then they try to put in efforts, effective management of those areas so that they lead to the conservation of the species and the uh, protection of the habitats and resulting into the conservation and the protection of the species. Now, then there are some species which have already got extinct or which are at the verge of the extinction. We try to conserve them by way of ex situ conservation. So we are conserving these species, trying to conserve these species out of their natural habitats, in gene banks, in conservation reserves. So some of the species, like we talk about this cheetah, we have tried to introduce cheetah, reintroduce cheetah in India, and that is only possible through ex situ first, because we have to get the cheetah. We got the cheetah, tried to habituate them in the conservation reserves, and then reintroduce them into the other these suitable habitats. And same is the so many species. We are doing the conservation breeding of the great Indian bustard. So that is again a conservation breeding, trying to augment the population and reintroduce into the area, so that the population that is already existing naturally is augmented with these bred populations. So similarly, we have some areas, some species where we need to preserve the gene bank for future use if we are not able to conserve them naturally. So that is the ex situ conservation. But normally the in situ conservation is largely very, we can say, more effective than the ex situ conservation. And uh, in the in situ conservation, there is always the conservation of not one particular species, but the conservation of, when we conserve one species, we are able to conserve entire landscape, the entire biodiversity, and the entire ecosystem. Like we talk about Project Tiger. Why was Project Tiger so important? Because we initiated Project Tiger under the gob of the protecting tiger. We have been able to conserve a huge diversity of the species, because protecting tiger means we have to protect the prey. When we are protecting the prey, that means we are protecting the habitat of the prey. So tiger cannot be protected, tiger cannot be conserved unless we provide them suitable prey and in the natural conditions. So when we are conserving tiger, we are conserving the ungulates. When we are conserving ungulates, we are conserving the landscape, because these ungulates will depend on the forests. These ungulates will depend on the meadows. These ungulates will depend on the grasslands. So we are protecting the grasslands. We are conserving the grasslands. So that is the kind of in situ conservation, which is very beneficial for the not only one species, but for the entire ecosystem, for the entire landscape. We have tried to see uh, a balance between this conservation, like we just talked about the sustainable utilization. In some of the areas, we are able to see the livestock and the wildlife co-occurring, but in a very regulated manner, because livestock is very important for the uh, poor people. So overgrazing of the livestock in an area cannot affect only wildlife, but the poor people also. Why? Because if you are the overgrazing in an area, you cannot provide sufficient fodder for your livestock and the wildlife. So they have to co-occur. There's the inter specific competition going on. The resource partitioning, resource competition will happen. We will not be able to conserve. We will not be able to justify between the need of the wildlife and need of the livestock, or need of the human locals. So there are lot many advantages of in situ conservation, as I just explained about. So when we are conserving one species, we are conserving the entire habitat. Species will have the resources that are adapted to it. So we talked about the tiger conservation. We have conserved when we have conserved tiger, we have conserved the entire landscape. So different species have been able to be will protect, and these species, when we are conserving in their natural habitat, they are able to adapt their natural landscapes. They are able to perform their activities in a more efficient way. So they can do the hunting. They can do the predator prey relationship will be very healthy in the natural ecosystem, and we are conserving these these species in the natural habitat. So we have a lot of conservation these organizations which are working, and including the universities and the other organizations which are very much after trying to convince the government that the kind of developments that they are doing has to be sustainably done, and that's very important way of actually organizing the international, national workshops, seminars, conferences, so that you convince government that this is what needs to be done for the the development of the people and development of the wildlife and the natural habitats. So tiger conservation, I just already said, we have been able to from a few individuals that had left in 1972, we have been able to now come up to 3,000 elephant, this tiger at present. So this is again a kind of success story that we can boost upon the success of the tiger conservation in India. So we have now areas where tigers are more than what are required, more than the carrying capacity. So now there's a conflict happening every day between the tiger and the humans. So again, we have some areas where there's another success story of conservation is the Barasingha. We have two species, two subspecies of Barasingha. One is the hard ground Barasingha that is in the Madhya Pradesh confined areas in Kanha National Park, and then we have the Barasingha that you find in the UP and other areas. In so the hard ground Barasingha, the population was very low. It had declined to a few individuals were left. And the conservation of these areas, particularly this also can happen because of the Project Tiger. So we have been able to conserve this hard ground Barasingha in Kanha National Park, and now we have the hard ground Barasingha also in a significant number in the Kanha National Park. Again, the conservation global success story of conservation is the Hawaiian goose that have been conserved. The Hawaiian goose was extinct, then some population was reintroduced, and then the population uh, of 9,000 were released back into the wild. But uh, this population again got extinct because of certain pressures that we had not addressed. The conservation organization that time, they were not addressed to that. The rat population, they were not able to control the rat population, and when we had the 9,000 individuals of the Hawaiian goose were released into the wild, and within few years all these 9,000 individuals were again wiped out because of one particular problem, that is of the rats, because those rats that ate all the eggs that these goose produced for reproduction, and the entire population gone. So again, we have the Switzerland red deer in Switzerland is another success story. There's the red deer in Switzerland was extinct long back, and then it was in 70s that the uh, reintroduction of red deer into the Switzerland happened, and now we have more than 30,000 these red deer in Switzerland. Again, a success story. So there are number of international treaties that have been signed between different parties and the governments and the nations that talk about the conservation actions that need to be taken by each and every signatory to that those international treaties. So one of these treaty is the Convention on the International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Flora and Fauna. So we see a lot of hunting is taking place everywhere, and that hunting is basically for the parts of these species. So tiger bones, you have the tiger skin, the shatu shal. So all these, the muscular pod, the these bear gallbladders, all these are traded internationally because they fetch a lot of money. And there's the convention which actually tells about the regulation of this trade. We have to try to stop the trade of these parts of the endangered species. And that has been signed in 1973, and India is signatory to that. And by way of that, we have to try to regulate, or there's a clear-cut ban on the hunting, and we don't need to. We have to stop the trade of these species. And that is one of the conventions that talks about the topmost conservation treaties that have been signed by the countries that talked about the conservation of the species. So again, there's a convention on biological diversity of this 1992 that we talked about, the Rio Convention. Again, India is signatory to that. There's a World Summit on Sustainable Development that has happened in 2002. Again, India is signatory to that. So we have to try to 100 out of the 188 countries, India is one of the important country which has signed this summit of biodiversity this convention on biodiversity of species. So there are a lot of ethics involved in the conservation of these species, and we apart from all these treaties, it is actually the people as in general which have to conserve, which have to come forward to conserve these species, because as I said, the conservation literal meaning is the guarding together, protecting together. We have to come forward to help governments, to help the policymakers in conserving these species. So I think this is the crux of all this that I told about, we talked about, is on one hand, as humans, we need to use resources and consume other organisms to survive. On the other hand, we have conscious reasoning, ability, and are able to make conscious decisions. So it is all we people which can make a difference. We can either bring species into extinction list, or we can save the species. Thank you.
Sir,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
सर
you,
एक
sir.
क्वेश्चन पूछ सकते हैं जी?
Thank you,
We
sir.
are
हाँ, बताएं।
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
thank you,
sir.
sir.
We need a
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
थैंक यू बताएं कुछ।
Yes, sir.
हाँ, बताएं क्वेश्चन सुन नहीं रहा हूँ।
हाँ सर, वो जो आपने शुरू में बताया था जैव विविधता के प्रकार में अल्फा बीटा और गामा के बारे में, सर उसको थोड़ा चर्चा कर दीजिए, ये क्या होता है?
Alpha diversity is diversity within a landscape.
सर कृपया हिंदी में सर समझाएं।
हाँ,
मातृभाषा
अल्फा
में।
डाइवर्सिटी होती है एक पर्टिकुलर एरिया या एक पर्टिकुलर हैबिटेट में क्या डाइवर्सिटी होती है, उसको अल्फा डाइवर्सिटी कहते हैं।
जैसे सर
जैसे एक पर्टिकुलर एरिया में, जैसे अभी हमने बता दिया कि एक पर्टिकुलर हैबिटेट है, जैसे ग्रासलैंड। ग्रासलैंड एक हैबिटेट है।
जी जी सर।
उस ग्रासलैंड में क्या डाइवर्सिटी होती है, डिफरेंट स्पीशीज होते हैं वहां पे, दैट इज
जी
द
जी
अल्फा डाइवर्सिटी।
जी।
ठीक है। दूसरा होता है कि डाइवर्सिटी बिटवीन द लैंडस्केप्स और हैबिटेट्स। एक ग्रासलैंड है, एक वुडलैंड है, या एक जो है आपका जो है हिमालय है और गैंजेटिक प्लेन है। दो अलग अलग बायोडाइवर्सिटी रीजन्स है। दोनों के बीच में जो डाइवर्सिटी है बिटवीन द लैंडस्केप्स, जैसे अभी हमने बात करी, कॉर्बेट में डाइवर्सिटी है, हिमालय का भी थोड़ा सा है, और गैंजेटिक प्लेन का भी थोड़ा सा है। डाइवर्सिटी इज द बीटा बिटवीन द लैंडस्केप्स, बिटवीन द हैबिटेट्स।
तो इसको इकोटोन भी कहा जा सकता है सर?
इकोटोन उसको हम, वो तो अलग चीज है।
इकोटोन बाउंड्री कहलाएगी।
इकोटोन तो अलग चीज होती है। इकोटोन होता है कि जिसको हम एज इफेक्ट कहते हैं, एज डाइवर्सिटी कहते हैं। जैसे होता है कि एक ग्रासलैंड और एक वुडलैंड के बीच में एक छोटी सी दार होती है, जहां पे दोनों हैबिटेट के स्पीशीज मिलते हैं, और वो स्पीशीज वहां पे ज्यादा होती है।
यस
क्योंकि वहां पे ग्रासलैंड स्पीशीज भी आती हैं, वहां पे वुडलैंड स्पीशीज भी आती हैं। वो एक पर्टिकुलर एरिया होता है, उसको कहते हैं इकोटोन,
इकोटोन।
जहां पे एज, जिसको एज इफेक्ट कहते हैं, जहां एज में होती हैं दोनों तरह की स्पीशीज। यहाँ पे होती है बीटा में होती है द लैंडस्केप, द डाइवर्सिटी बिटवीन द लैंडस्केप्स और डाइवर्सिटी बिटवीन द हैबिटेट्स। और गामा गामा डाइवर्सिटी होती है डाइवर्सिटी बिटवीन द कॉन्टिनेंट्स, बिटवीन द बायोजियोग्राफिकल रीजन्स। इंडिया और चाइना की डाइवर्सिटी के बीच में, या कभी कभी ये होता है कि जैसे अभी हमने बता दिया, एक बायोजियोग्राफिकल रीजन इंडिया का और दूसरे बायोजियोग्राफिकल रीजन इंडिया का, उसमें, या अभी जैसे हम बात कर रहे थे इंडो चाइनीज और इंडो बर्मीज और इंडियन रीजन्स में, ये जो डाइवर्सिटी मिलती है उसको कहते हैं गामा डाइवर्सिटी।
जी सर, एक क्वेश्चन था सर मेरा।
जी जी
सर, जैसे आपने सुना कि जैसे जात ऐसे पे कुछ पक्षी हजारों किलोमीटर का सफर करके आते हैं सर हर साल।
हाँ।
तो क्या इंडिया जब पंजाब की तरफ से भी कुछ पक्षी ऐसे हैं, कभी डाटा ऐसा हो कि वो दूसरी कंट्रीज में कभी जाएं इतना सफर करके, है ऐसा कोई सर?
हाँ, जाते हैं। बहुत सारी स्टडीज होती हैं जो हमने भी यहाँ पे भी किया है। हम क्या क्या कहते हैं उसको, माइग्रेशन को स्टडी करने के लिए दो तरीके होते हैं। पहले होता था हम उनको रिंग करते थे, ट्रैक करते थे, उसके बाद छोड़ देते थे। उसके बाद रिंगिंग हर पूरे ग्लोबल लेवल पे होती है, उसमें उस हमारे रिंग का नंबर होता है। वो दूसरी जगह जब रिंगिंग होती है तो वहां पे पकड़ते हैं उसको, जब दोबारा रिकैप्चर जिसको कहते हैं, वहां पे अगर वो नंबर का रिंग आ गया उस वाले में, तो पता चलता था कि ये वहां से टैग किया गया था और ये यहाँ पे आ गया। अब नया तरीका है जिसको हम सैटेलाइट टेलीमेट्री कहते हैं। सैटेलाइट टेलीमेट्री के जरिए हमने स्टडी किया हुआ है कि कौन कौन से पक्षी किस किस कंट्री से इंडिया में आते हैं। उसमें यूरोप से भी आते हैं, चाइना से भी आते हैं, रशिया से भी आते हैं, साइबेरिया से भी आते हैं इंडिया में। जो भी वाटर बर्ड आते हैं ना विंटर में, वो एक्चुअली नॉर्थ से साउथ की तरफ आते हैं विंटर में, और समर में फिर वापस साउथ से नॉर्थ जाते हैं। तभी आप देखते हैं कि पूरे वेटलैंड्स में आपको विंटर में बर्ड्स मिलेंगे बहुत ज्यादा, क्योंकि वो आते हैं बाहर वाले कंट्री से, नॉर्थ से आते हैं, नॉर्थ हेमिस्फीयर से आते हैं। नॉर्थ हेमिस्फीयर मींस यूरोप, साइबेरिया, रशिया, इवन नॉर्थ अमेरिका से भी आते हैं, कि तरफ आते हैं। So that is the migration that has been already studied. पंजाब में भी आते हैं, कश्मीर में भी आते हैं, यूपी में भी आते हैं, बिहार में भी आते हैं, हर पूरे इंडिया में आते हैं पक्षी। जो अभी आप यहाँ पे वो स्लाइड में देख रहे हैं, इस वाले स्लाइड में अगर आपको दिख रहा है टॉप का वाला जो है, दिस इज वन ऑफ द वेटलैंड्स ऑफ कश्मीर। यहाँ पे जो भी अभी स्पीशीज आप देख रहे हैं, दे हैव कम फ्रॉम साइबेरिया एंड यूरोप।
सर may I ask something?
Thank you, sir.
सर खुर्शीद सर
जी
सर, ये जो कंसेप्ट है बायोडायवर्सिटी का, क्या ये एंथ्रोपोसेंट्रिक एथिक्स पर आधारित नहीं है कि हम मानव अपनी ही अस्तित्व की रक्षा के लिए क्या रखना है क्या नहीं रखना है उसको चूज कर रहे हैं? यदि हम पृथ्वी का इवोल्यूशन देखें, स्टार्टिंग से कितने आइस एज हो चुके हैं, कितने क्रिएचर एक्सटिंक्ट हो चुके हैं, और जैसे डायनासोर में मौत आदि एक्सटिंक्ट हो चुके हैं बाय नेचुरल इवोल्यूशन। ओके सर, तो सिर्फ हम अपने अस्तित्व के लिए इसको बायोडायवर्सिटी का नाम नहीं दे रहे हैं क्या, कि सिर्फ मानव स्पीशीज किसी तरह सुरक्षित रहे?
अभी यही तो आप इसमें आप खुद ही क्वेश्चन कर रहे हैं, खुद ही जवाब भी दे रहे हैं। जब खाली इंसान रहेगा तो डाइवर्सिटी कहाँ रहेगी? डाइवर्सिटी है ना, आपका सस्टेनेंस किस पे डिपेंडेंट है? अगर आप सुनिए, अगर आप फल नहीं खाएंगे, अगर आप वेजिटेबल नहीं खाएंगे, और हर सीजन में आप अलग अलग वेजिटेबल्स लेते हैं, अलग अलग फल लेते हैं, तो वो डाइवर्सिटी है ना वो भी। तो हमारा सस्टेनेंस जो है ये ऑल डिपेंड है डाइवर्सिटी पे। जितना हम डाइवर्सिटी वाइज रिच होंगे उतना हमारा सस्टेनेंस बहुत ही अच्छा होगा। अब हम कहेंगे कि कोई भी चीज जो है उसको हम, जैसे अभी हम कह रहे थे कि चीता हमने एक्सटेंड किया, सब ठीक चला, अब हम चीता को वापस क्यों ला रहे हैं? हमारे पास तो ऑलरेडी एलिफेंट इतने बड़े पड़े हुए हैं, टाइगर इतने पड़े हुए हैं, कॉन्फ्लिक्ट होता है। चीता क्यों हमें लगता है कि चाहिए हमें? बिकॉज चीता का भी अपना एक मुकाम है इकोसिस्टम में। अल्लाह ने मतलब भगवान ने अल्लाह ने बनाया हुआ है इसको पार्ट ऑफ द इकोसिस्टम।
एग्जैक्टली दिस इज द प्रॉब्लम सर, कि हम मनुष्य को ही सर्वश्रेष्ठ समझ के पूरा का पूरा कैलकुलेशन कर रहे हैं, कॉन्सेप्ट दे रहे हैं। मनुष्य से पहले भी पृथ्वी था, जीवो क्रिएचर्स थे, उनकी अलग बायोडाइवर्सिटी थी। हम लोग नहीं भी रहेंगे 200 वर्ष 500 वर्ष के बाद, जैसा क्लाइमेट चेंज कहता है, तभी कुछ ना किसी रूप में रहेगा। तो हम अपने ही फायदे के लिए तो प्रकृति के साथ हम खिलवाड़ कर रहे हैं। कि डोडो खत्म हो गया, डोडो पक्षी था, आपको कोई याद होगा, वो एक्सटिंक्ट हो गया, लेकिन उसका मानव सभ्यता पर कोई प्रभाव नहीं पड़ा। तो ठीक है, हमको डोडो से कोई मतलब नहीं है। हाँ, चीता हमारे लिए आवश्यक है तो हम चीता अफ्रीका से मंगवाए, ठीक है। तो सिर्फ हम अपने अस्तित्व के लिए बाकी क्रिएचर के लिए एथिक्स डिफाइन कर रहे हैं।
नहीं, वो बात नहीं है। हम यही कह रहे हैं ना कि हम बाकी, हमारा जो है ना कंजर्वेशन में हमें देखना है कि बाकी जीवित को पहले हमें इम्पोर्टेंस देनी है।
सर, हम तो अपने आप को दे रहे हैं ना कि फॉर द सर्वाइविंग ऑफ ह्यूमन स्पीशीज।
सुनिए, पहले हम टाइगर जब हमने प्रोजेक्ट स्टार्ट किया, हमने हमारे अपने लिए नहीं किया, टाइगर के लिए किया। टाइगर को क्या चाहिए वो टाइगर ने खुद दिया, हमने बस उसको प्रोटेक्शन दे दी। उसके पास जो टाइगर को चाहिए था उसका प्रे, वो खुद ही आ गया। तो हमें क्या देखना है कि हमें स्पीशीज को बचाना है। जब हम स्पीशीज को बचाएंगे हम खुद भी बचेंगे, और वो स्पीशीज के साथ बाकी स्पीशीज जो उसके साथ एसोसिएटेड है वो खुद बच जाएंगे।
और सर, दूसरी समस्या उठती है कि आपने लिखा था सफिशिएंट यूज ऑफ रिसोर्सेज एंड सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट। तो सर, जो ह्यूमन डेवलपमेंट,
सस्टेनेबल यूज ऑफ रिसोर्सेज होता है। सिंपल बात बाद में एक बताऊंगा आपको। आपको अगर घर के लिए लकड़ी चाहिए, अगर आपको एक पेड़ चाहिए तो आप एक काटिए ना, हम 4 क्यों काटते हैं? हमारी हमारी जो है ना नीड ग्रीड है, ये तो वो ग्रीड होगी। नीड तो हमारा एक है, ग्रीड हमारी कहती है 4 चाहिए। एक पे भी मतलब हम बच सकते हैं, 4 पे भी बच सकते हैं। अगर हमारा एक से ही गुजारा हो जाता है अच्छे से, तो 4 क्यों काटेंगे? वो 3 अगर हम बचाएंगे अपनी प्रोजेनी के लिए बचाएंगे। दैट इज ए सस्टेनेबल यूटिलाइजेशन।
ओके सर, आई गॉट इट, बट सर हम लोग देख रहे
सर
हैं
कुछ
जो
सवाल अब अगले FIP के लिए बचा लीजिए, अगले सेशन के लिए प्लीज।
सर आपका और भी आगे क्लास है क्या?
नहीं नहीं
होगा
कल है।
एग्जाम मेरे ख्याल से।
लास्ट ओनली सिंगल क्लास?
हाँ हाँ
तो सर एक क्वेश्चन और है, लास्ट वन।
जी बताएं।
सर जो मानव का विकास हो रहा है उसमें हमको जरूरत है लैंड की, इसके लिए डिफॉरेस्टेशन कर रहे हैं। खेती योग्य जो जमीन है उसको औद्योगिक क्षेत्र में दे रहे हैं, चाहे कहीं भी हो, तमिलनाडु हो, यूपी हो, सब जगह दे रहे हैं कि इससे मानव का विकास होगा, एम्प्लॉयमेंट बढ़ेगा। एग्जैक्टली वो जरूरी भी है, लेकिन सर इसी के कारण जो जानवरों का नेचुरल हैबिटेट है उसको हम नष्ट कर रहे हैं। ओके सर, सो अब ये सर व्यवहारिक रूप से इसका समाधान कैसे होगा? हम तो बोल दिए कि एक पेड़ काटेंगे तो 3 पेड़ लगाएंगे, गुड, लेकिन हमारे पास जगह रहेगी तब ना हम 3 पेड़ लगाएंगे।
अरे तो खुर्शीद सर क्या करें इसमें?
मैं वही तो कह रहा हूँ, ये तो हमारा काम है। जैसे आपके गांव में
आप बोलते रहे कि सेमिनार कॉन्फ्रेंस इसी के लिए होता है, सर तो बोले हैं ना।
अच्छा अच्छा अच्छा,
इसीलिए हमें अवेयरनेस करनी है। हमें अवेयरनेस खाली लोगों के लिए नहीं करनी है, हमें अवेयरनेस करनी है पॉलिसी मेकर्स के लिए भी, गवर्नमेंट के लिए भी, जो ये पॉलिसीज डिवाइस करते हैं उनको बताना है। से फॉर इंस्टेंस किसी एरिया में अगर आपको ट्रेन लेनी है, अगर वो एरिया, उसमें कोई ऐसा एरिया आता है जहाँ पे वो स्पीशीज पाई जाती हैं जो बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट है, जो और जगह नहीं पाई जा सकती है, तो हमें लोगों को, हमें पॉलिसी मेकर्स को बताना है कि ये एरिया इंपॉर्टेंट है, आप इसको डाइवर्ट करिए, डाइवर्शन लीजिए। वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, मतलब डेवलपमेंट भी हो गया, वो स्पीशीज भी बच गई। ऐसे चीजें होती है, ऐसे इकदाम करने होते हैं, लेकिन हम क्या करते हैं, हम स्पीशीज को नहीं देखते, हम अपने आप को देखते हैं। मेरे घर से ट्रेन जानी चाहिए, मेरे घर से ट्रेन जानी चाहिए, मुझे ज्यादा पैदल नहीं चलना चाहिए। यही चाहिए।
3 R's कहा गया है, रिड्यूस, रिसाइकल एंड रीयूज। तो कोई भी रिसोर्सेज है, जितने भी रिसोर्सेज है, उनको समझदारी से यूज करना है। बस यही है। और पॉलिसी मेकर्स जो है हमारे, वो कोई साइंटिस्ट नहीं होते हैं, वो इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट है, बिजनेसमैन है और पॉलिटिशियन है, तो उनसे थोड़े काम होगा। और वो साइंटिस्ट की बात सुनते नहीं है, रिसर्चर्स की बात सुनते नहीं है।
हाँ वही मैं कह रहा हूँ ना, देखिए नहीं कोई नहीं सुनता है, लेकिन साइंटिस्ट की बात अगर वो नहीं डायरेक्टली नहीं सुनते हैं, लेकिन साइंटिस्ट का एक गोल होता है, वो जो लिख के देता है वो कोई मिटा ही नहीं सकता है। फिर उसमें उनको परेशानियां हो जाती हैं कि भाई यहाँ पे है, तभी तो इतने सारे कंजर्वेशन प्रोजेक्ट्स सक्सेसफुल हो गए जिनकी मैं बात कर रहा हूँ। वो तो साइंटिस्ट ने ही बना के दे दिया कि यहाँ पे स्पीशीज है, ये क्रिटिकल हैबिटेट है। उसके बाद उनको धीरे धीरे समझ आ गया। उसमें अवेयरनेस की भी जरूरत होती है, जैसे हम कह रहे हैं सेमिनार कॉन्फ्रेंसेस, कोई ना कोई होता है जो थोड़ा सा संजीदगी से उसको लेता है और आगे चलता है। एफर्ट्स हमें अपने लेवल पे करने हैं, तो कभी ना कभी रंग लाती हैं एफर्ट्स। Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much,
Very
sir.
informative and wonderful session.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Very informative session.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much as a human being.
Thank you.
कविता मैम, ये मियावाकी क्या होता है?
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
थैंक यू सर।
Thank you, sir.
सर कौन है ये?
Thank you, sir.
हाँ तो निखिल सर आपने अपलोड कर दिया असाइनमेंट, सेकंड असाइनमेंट?
नहीं अभी है वो कर लिया, शूट कर लिया है उसको, थोड़ा वो ठीक ठाक कर रहे हैं।
अच्छा आप एडिट, ओ अभी तो पढ़ाए थे सर एडिटिंग का, तो एडिट कीजिएगा उसको।
थोड़ा थोड़ा बहुत करना पड़ेगा ना।
बिल्कुल सही।
देखिए कल का लेक्चर का वो आ गया है टीचिंग टेक्निक्स
उसमें
पढ़ाने
सर
का।
वीडियो जरूरी है कि बस ऑडियो ही चलेगा?
नहीं सर, वीडियो वीडियो जरूर फेस होना
नहीं
चाहिए।
इसमें सर क्या करना है, वीडियो भी रखना है कि बस ऑडियो ही?
वीडियो वीडियो बहुत
हेलो,
जरूरी
ये
है।
कह रहे हैं सर कि जो सेकेंड वाले में वीडियो अपना भी बनाना है कि बस बोलना है?
सर वीडियो में आपका फेस दिखना चाहिए।
मतलब
फर्स्ट वाला है
अपना ज्ञान दीजिए उस बात पे जो भी बात
अच्छा
आप पकड़ रहे हैं।
किसी
बाकी मैं
अच्छा
स्क्रीन
किसी
को
को ये पता है ये कैसे होता है कि हम अपना फेस डाल दिए एक फोटो और एआई को बोल दिए कि भाई साहब एक हमारे लिए वीडियो बना दो इस फेस को लेके और इस टॉपिक पे।
हो सकता है सर,
ऐसा हो सकता है।
बट
पॉसिबल है लेकिन अभी फ्री नहीं है।
पॉसिबल है सर,
टाइम
लेकिन उसमें
लगेगा।
आपको ज्यादा मेहनत करना पड़ेगा।
हेट
आपको दांतों की
पैसे
सेटिंग
देंगे
करनी
मैं
पड़ेगी,
एडिटर दे दूंगा
मुंह की सेटिंग करनी पड़ेगी, ईयर्स की सेटिंग करनी पड़ेगी, असली दांत नकली दांत लगाने पड़ेंगे, बहुत सारी दिक्कतें आएंगी। उससे अच्छा खुद का बना के डाल दीजिए।
जैसे
वो
आज तक
समस्या
ने
होती है
अपना
सर।
बनाया हुआ है एआई सना के नाम से।
और भी है, अंजना का भी डुप्लीकेट आ गया।
अच्छा,
चलिए
तो
अब चला है।
इसका क्या मतलब, कोई यूट्यूब से वीडियो लोग एफआईपी का अपलोड तो किया है ना, उस पे एआई का फेस लगाना है क्या खुद का?
नहीं अभी आने वाली जनरेशन शुरू करेगी।
अरे वही और
उन्हीं का
कर देगा ना, एआई जनरेट कर देगा वीडियो।
अरे तो
उन्हीं
आप
का सबसे अच्छा है,
प्रेजेंटेशन
वही
से
थोड़े
क्यों
आप
बना
उससे बेहतर
लेंगे?
कीजिए।
सर
एक्चुअली क्या
एआई
है
एआई से स्क्रिप्ट जनरेट करवा लीजिए और वीडियो बना लीजिए, बहुत सिंपल।
स्क्रिप्ट जनरेट, लेकिन सर उस पे आप अपना एक्सप्रेशन कैसे दे पाएंगे? वो जो आप क्वेश्चन कैरी करते हैं, आप अपने हाथों को मूव करते हैं, हाथों में
नहीं, मैं कह रहा हूँ केवल केवल कंटेंट जनरेट कर लीजिए, बोलना क्या है और बोलिए, फिर आप
स्क्रिप्ट
वीडियो
आप रेडी
बनाइए।
कर सकते हैं, उसको
ये बात सही है।
टेलीप्रॉम्प्टर की वजह से यूज करके उसको आप कर सकते
देखिए
हैं।
सर, वीडियो भी बना सकते हैं लेकिन उसके लिए आपको प्रीमियम
टेलीप्रॉम्प्टर
अकाउंट
लाएंगे,
लेना
वाह।
पड़ेगा।
मोदी जी ले नहीं पाए टेलीप्रॉम्प्टर, आप टेलीप्रॉम्प्टर लेके करेंगे भाई साहब।
सबको एकदम
सर
जबरदस्त
उस दिन
ब्रेक चाहिए,
बताए थे ना
ऐसा
सर,
ना।
क्लासरूम में एक सर आए थे, तो वो बताया नहीं था टेलीप्रॉम्प्टर आप ऐसे से यूज कर सकते हैं।
वो ठीक बात है,
तो
लेकिन
क्या
आज 24 घंटे और
टेलीप्रॉम्प्टर नहीं
परसों तक
कोड
सबमिट
होगा?
नहीं हुआ तो आपका सारा टेलीप्रॉम्प्टर रह जाएगा, फटाफट करके जा लिए।
सर काइन मास्टर का यूज कर लीजिए, काइन मास्टर काफी अच्छे से यूज हो जाता है, बहुत इजी है उसके
हाँ
स्टेप्स।
बहुत सारा इन शॉट है, काइन मास्टर है, आसान सा एडिटिंग सॉफ्टवेयर लीजिए, बहुत इजी।
हाँ तो उसमें मतलब उसमें भी बना करके फिर एडिट कर लीजिए।
कोई भी अच्छा मोबाइल है उसको लीजिए हाथ में, एक स्टैंड ही 200 रुपए का आता है, खरीदिए और इसे हाथ पे पकड़िए या रख दीजिए स्टैंड पे और फटाफट शूट कर
हाँ, ये
लीजिए।
भी अच्छा है।
सिंपल, हम तो वही कर रहे हैं।
वैसे
वो
डायरेक्ट
ओबीएस
आप
स्टूडियो भी तो काफी अच्छा है वीडियो रिकॉर्ड
अरे वो
करने
तो
के
मत
लिए।
पड़े, हाँ वो ठीक, बहुत मत पड़िए। हाँ मतलब अगर बैठे बैठे करना तो भी है।
डायरेक्ट आप पावर पॉइंट से भी रिकॉर्ड कर सकते हो, उसमें रिकॉर्ड का भी एक ऑप्शन दिया हुआ है।
हाँ मतलब बहुत मतलब ठीक है, मुझे बहुत पसंद है। पावर पॉइंट कितना पावर पॉइंट पढ़ाइएगा, पढ़ थक गए हैं,
तो
ओवरलोड
पता
कर।
ही नहीं मैडम, इतना टेक्निकल चीज मुझे
पावर बहुत खींचता है इंसान के मन का।
हाँ
फिलोसफी
और
पर।
पूरा पूरा पॉइंट खींच लेता है आपका।
हाँ, वो हम लोग का
इससे बेहतर
पावर
है कि
कम
आप
कर
खुद
देता
कीजिए,
है
खुद
पावर
अपना
पॉइंट।
कीजिए। अमित सर अगर लगातार बोलने लगे तो फिर बात ही खत्म हो जाएगी, फिर तो 10 मिनट ऐसे निकल जाएंगे। चलिए चला जाए, कल मिलते हैं।
कहाँ चला जाए?
कल का प्रेजेंटेशन अभी भी आ गया, मतलब ग्रुप का मैसेज आ गया है कि क्या होगा क्लास। एक है टीचिंग टेक्निक्स और एक है कॉमन मेडिकल इमरजेंसीज।
कौन है ओरेटर, कौन है रिसोर्स पर्सन?
दो लोग हैं, एक है साजिद जमाल और एक है शारिक अकील।
ओके,
एक डॉक्टर हैं और एक डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ एजुकेशन के हैं।
चलिए बढ़िया है, रिकॉर्डेड वर्जन नहीं सुनने को मिलेगा।
हाँ ये तय बात है, दोनों।
ओपीडी करेंगे ऑनलाइन?
ओपीटी क्या होता है? अच्छा,
ओपीडी
वीवीपी चेक करवाएंगे।
हमें सोच रहा था डॉक्टर के पास न जाना पड़े, यहीं चेक हो जाए, क्यों नहीं?
ये भी बात सही है।
कल होगा हाँ, लेकिन वो कैसे आला कैसे लगाएंगे आपके सीने पे?
हाँ,
सेंसर के थ्रू, कोई सेंसर होगा ना किसी ऐप में।
कुछ और सेंस कर लेगा भाई, रहने दीजिए। चलिए बाय।
चलिए बाय।